In Michigan, a state surrounded by 20% of the world's freshwater, water is a part of who we are, but industrial chemicals have made their way into the drinking water of more than 1 million people in Michigan. These chemicals are called PFAS, which is short for per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances. They are often called forever chemicals because they build up in our bodies and take thousands of years to break down. PFAS chemicals have been linked with a number of health complications like cancer, thyroid problems, autoimmune issues, and high cholesterol. PFAS contamination has been found in more than 160 sites across Michigan, in our farmlands, in soils and livestock, in our cities and industrial spaces, in our homes, our landfills, and in our drinking water. The Great Lakes PFAS Action Network is a group led by impacted community members who are bringing communities together to hold polluters accountable and work toward policy solutions to clean up contamination in our water and protect our health.
I live in Belmont, and I live directly across the street from the Wolverine Worldwide Tannery site where they dump tannery waste for many, many years. I lived there for 20 years before I realized that had occurred. I only learned that it occurred after my husband died of liver cancer. And it was the following year that I learned that I was drinking PFAS contaminated water in an exorbitant amount.
My blood came back at what in essence is 5 million parts per trillion, or 5,000 parts per million, which is how we typically test it. Most people have anywhere between 20 to maybe 80 parts per million, and I have 5,000.
In 2018, Sandy and some of her neighbors went to Washington, D.C. to tell their elected officials their story for the first time.
So we made up little business cards for ourselves, and it's got our name and our address, and it calls us affected residents.
The group met with their elected representatives in Congress, gave them these business cards, and shared stories of how PFAS is impacting each of their communities. Since hearing their stories, lawmakers in Congress have taken action on every one of the priorities that Sandy and her neighbors brought to them.
And so I keep that card on my bulletin board as a reminder that you can make a difference. I mean, you really can. The fact that the media has recognized this as an issue and has brought this forward, not just on local levels, but on national levels, on international levels, is a big win. I'm a co-chair of GeoPan. We have a couple different things we're trying to do. One thing that I think is important is going into communities and helping provide education. Education from a community member's perspective. It's one thing to hear it from your health department and from your Department of Environmental Quality, but it's another thing to have a person who's experienced it say, here's what you can do to safeguard your family. Another big piece is kind of being a voice in Lansing, in Washington, in your own townships and communities to talk about what it is you expect from decision makers and what kind of policies we need to pass moving forward, both to remediate this but also to prevent it. I think there's also some support and learning when you can just get together with other impacted citizens to find out what they did or what they know.
Whether it be from communities drinking water, from firefighters wearing gear, from farmers who have been impacted by biosolids, from people that have had contaminated municipal drinking water, all of us had a story to tell, and it was through that story that we were going to be able to move and have action.
If you've been impacted by PFAS contamination, you're not alone. Get in touch with us so we can work together to address this issue.